Argentine Foreign Minister Nicanor Costa Méndez said last night he's going to the Havana conference because he knows he can expect support for Argentina's claim to the Falkland Islands.
You know that the movement of non-aligned countries have supported our position and has declared in both in Lima and in Colombo that Argentina has sovereignty rights on the Malvinas Islands. So we hope that the non-aligned movement will continue to give us support.
Costa Méndez said he's interested in attending any and every conference where the Falklands issue is discussed. His appearance in Havana, however, is clearly a warning to the West that Argentina might consider building closer relations with the Soviet Union.
Diplomatic relations between Argentina and Soviet Union have been very good since many years, and trade relations with the Soviet Union have been excellent for many, many years, and really outstanding in the last 5 or 6 years.
Many Argentinians dislike the idea of closer ties with any communist nation. But with things getting very bleak for Argentina on the battlefield, the country is apparently anxious to have as many friends as possible during its post-war dealings with Britain. Dan Molina, NBC News, Buenos Aires.
12, 13, 14, 15.
Okay. Okay, Rod, thank you. Well, we haven't set up yet.
Can you move to your left? Little tiny one.
All right. An influential newspaper in Buenos Aires, La Prensa. It's not La Nación, it's La Prensa, right? In a front-page political commentary by a well-connected columnist suggests this morning that Argentine government officials have not given up on the hope of a diplomatic solution. The article says the Pope, who is due here later in the month, or who's due here next month.
No, this month. It's the first.
What is today? In a few days.
Well, he's due on the 11th.
Okay. I don't have that much. Let me tell the pool because it's really not too much I can do in this end. Jesus, it's too hot. Well, then let me give it to you as quickly as I can, because if I ask them...
Sources close to the government are also claiming that Argentina will not give up the fight for the Falklands, even if its troops are defeated at Port Stanley, or even if the mainland is attacked by Great Britain. There has been increasing speculation here about the possibility of an Argentine surrender if Port Stanley is lost. The foreign minister, Nicanor Costa Méndez, was asked about the possibility of surrender at a news conference last night. You're going to time the 10 seconds or whatever it is? Tomorrow, Costa Méndez leaves for Havana, Cuba, and a meeting of non-aligned nations to present...
What's your last words before the pause?
Conference last night, at a news conference last night.
All right. I'll time it, then I'll give you...
If you'd like a copy of this script, here it is.
Okay, you at speed? Anytime.
3, 2, 1. An influential newspaper in Buenos Aires, La Prensa, in a front-page political commentary today by a well-connected political columnist, says Argentine government officials have not absolutely given up on the possibility of a negotiated settlement to the war. The article says that the Pope, who is due here in a few days, might intervene to bring peace. But that same article claims that Argentina will not give up the fight for the islands, even if its troops are defeated at Fort Stanley, and even if the mainland of Argentina is attacked by Great Britain. There has been increasing speculation here of the possibility of Argentina surrendering if its troops are defeated at Port Stanley. The foreign minister, Nicanor Costa Méndez, was asked about that possibility at a news conference last night. Tomorrow, Costa Méndez goes to Havana, Cuba for a meeting of non-aligned nations there to press Argentina's case for the islands. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Buenos Aires.
Yeah, why don't you and maybe do whatever you need to do.
Good.
New York Strike Time, CBS. Well, one thing
to Havana for the meeting of the non-aligned nations. He said he would be informing the nations of developments in Argentina's fight with the British in the Malvinas and also be there as an observer. He did not indicate that there would be any direct public appeal for any assistance from those non-aligned nations. The Soviet ambassador to Argentina met yesterday with President Galtieri, and upon emerging from that meeting told reporters that the Soviets supported Argentina diplomatically but failed to expand beyond that. And also 3 British journalists still being held in the South on spying charges were denied an appeal for release by an Argentine federal appeals court yesterday. The Argentine officials have assured the Swiss embassy here that they will be given a fair trial. I'm sorry, a surrender from the Argentine troops, was that the question? It might be more a matter of a more effective British force, but last night Nicanor Costa Méndez told reporters that when asked that very question, that he would not even consider that hypothesis at this time.
This is Bob Berkowitz in Buenos Aires. Argentine Pucora warplanes patrol the skies around Port Stanley as Argentine guns and soldiers are poised below, waiting for the expected British invasion of the island's capital. Unofficial but reliable sources tell ABC News that Argentina is ready to defend Stanley with 7,000 men, down from the original 10,000. The rest are either on other parts of the islands, captured, missing, or dead. Sources say that these soldiers have enough provisions and ammunition for a prolonged battle. Argentine troops are expecting the British to invade Port Stanley from both the east and the west, with the Royal Navy shelling the capital from the north. And an official Argentine communique says this morning that British forces are now 14 miles from Stanley. Weather could play a decisive role in the timing and intensity of a British assault on Port Stanley. Snow is said to be falling on some parts of the islands. Temperatures have dropped well below the freezing mark and winds are gusting up to 25 miles per hour. Harsh winter weather is setting in as the final and perhaps decisive battle of this war is about to begin. Bob Berkowitz, ABC News, Buenos Aires.
Okay, it's not really loud, but...
Okay, they're now seeing you at 12.
Okay.
Hope you're hearing you also.
Yes, so do I. Using film of the Exocet missiles on an Argentinian Skyhawk warplane.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Okay. Gonna reopen.
All yours, my dear.
Hmm?
You setting up about like you're going to sit?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay. We got about 10 seconds.
Stand by.
Morning, Craig. There was, in fact, a communique, Craig. The details of the clash that is going on just outside of Port Stanley, the capital of the Malvinas, is unclear. The reports are not complete. What we do know is the fighting has reached Mount Kent. That is about 25 kilometers from the capital area. The fighting is apparently quite intense. Argentinian troops have been reinforced, as have the British. There were reports overnight, and again this morning, this is from military sources, which come, of course, indirectly from the junta, that the Argentinians are confident this battle is not going to be over that quickly. They say, and they're still maintaining, that the loss of the HMS Invincible has changed the British strategy, and they warn of grave dangers for the British if they try and carry out a land assault without the help of air cover. In fact, the Air Force chief here last night, Lamidoso, said that they have pictures taken by an Argentine Skyhawk warplane that show that, in fact, the British air carrier was hit, and they are feeling confident about that. Well, I don't know. We haven't seen any of that, and you know as well as I do, Craig, what it is like to get information out of this town. The junta met last night, but they met with Costa Méndez, the foreign minister, and they were talking about quite different topics than this. We have had no further confirmation other than repeated claims by Air Force Chief Lamidosa that, in fact, the strike was effective the other day. They have never said, of course, that it was the Invincible. They're talking only about a British aircraft carrier, but as we were discussing yesterday, there are only two. They continue to maintain that, and they're talking a lot about the reinforced troops. They continue to say that that changes British strategy. I have no idea if you're right, Craig, if they are in fact just lying to the Argentinian people and to the international press gathered here. I don't know what their strategy is or why they would do that. There was not much. He met late last night with the junta. It is believed that he was talking about the possibility of a trip to Cuba. It was confirmed last night that he will go tomorrow to Havana, where a meeting of the non-aligned states is underway now. There was some conflict about who would go, some discussions on that. The statements coming out of that are few and far between. They seem to be arguing that this does not indicate any change in Argentina's foreign policy at all. How they do view this meeting of the non-aligned states is a chance to seek solidarity with other Latin American and third world partners. They say that the non-aligned movement itself stands for anti-colonialism, and therefore it will identify and support Argentina's cause. Well, it was interesting yesterday because, of course, in an unprecedented meeting, for the first time ever, the Soviet ambassador to Argentina met with President and General Galtieri yesterday. They had a 30-minute meeting. They presumably discussed political and diplomatic support. That's, in fact, what the ambassador said when he emerged from the meeting. He said that the Soviet Union was totally sympathetic to the Argentine fight for the Malvinas, that diplomatic political support was forthcoming. When he was asked about the possibility of military aid, he said, no comment, not no. However, again late last night, Lamidoso, the Air Force chief, did say that in fact Argentina was not seeking and was not asking for Soviet aid. They are arguing in the last 24 hours that they in fact don't need it. No, there is very little information to that effect. What we are getting are reports, of course, that there was a report in the newspaper this morning that British soldiers who have died, been killed in action, are being buried in mass graves, and that there is an uproar in London. There was some information that Argentine prisoners of war were being held in rather unpleasant circumstances, but there was not too much information on that. And mostly what we're getting here in the newspapers is the fact that this is the decisive battle. The battle for Port Stanley is key and crucial. We are hearing a lot about the weather. Of course, in the last 24 hours, we've had, there are reports on the Malvinas of 40-kilometer winds, below freezing temperatures. Snow has begun, and heavy snowfall is expected in the next 2 or 3 hours. And all this, the Argentines are reporting as good news for their side. They say that they will be much more able to deal with that than the British forces are. Okay, Craig. We will. Talk to you soon. Yeah, I think they're just doing a little intro to the next item. Oh, God.
He had some questions, didn't he?
Jesus.
The decisive battle for the Falklands appears imminent. Argentine military sources acknowledge British troops have advanced within 12 miles of the island's capital city, Puerto Argentino, or Port Stanley. They also report 3,500 fresh British troops who arrived in the South Atlantic aboard the Queen Elizabeth II, put ashore north of Puerto Argentino Monday. Argentina's Foreign Minister, Nicanor Costa Méndez, will head for Havana Wednesday for the Conference of Non-Aligned Nations. And in Buenos Aires Monday night, he told reporters he continued to hold out hope for a negotiated settlement through the United Nations.
Speaking for the cause of peace through negotiation, not for the cause of peace through bloody battle.
In the South, an Argentine federal appeals court rejected pleas for release from 3 British journalists jailed last month. The 3 are charged with spying for Great Britain. On National Energy Day, the chairman of Argentina's Atomic Energy Commission labeled Great Britain a nuclear aggressor and charged the use of nuclear-powered submarines in the Malvinas conflict was in effect wielding nuclear weapons. Dr. Carlos Castro Mendero denied Argentina now possesses or desires to possess the bomb. And the capture of 1,400 prisoners at Port Darwin and Goose Green has proven a problem for the British and discomfort for the Argentinians. With no place to put them, the Brits are reported holding their prisoners in sheep pens. James Allen McLeshevsky, CNN, Buenos Aires.